Do you struggle to get your needs heard by the people closest to you? If you do, then you might have a style of attachment known as an avoidant attachment style. People in this category often don't assert their needs because they don't trust that other people can support them in the ways that they need. This leads them to feel like they have to get their needs met on their own. I'm going to talk about why this style of attachment can be problematic in close relationships, but before I do that, let me tell you a little bit about attachment theory. The theory of attachment was developed by a man named John Bowlby. He presented this idea that in the early years of a child's life, a child will develop either a secure or an insecure attachment style. Now, the type of attachment style that's formed is shaped between a child and their caregiver, which is often one's parents. Parents are the first examples of social interactions that we have, and so they really shape the framework for how we think relationships work. For a secure attachment style, parents need to be emotionally available and responsive to their child's needs. The parent has to be accessible and present when the child needs them, and the parent has to be able to attune to the emotions and needs of their child. The child then feels comforted and soothed and is able to get back to a healthy and stable internal state. This provides children with a safe haven and a secure base. A safe haven is a place of connection and nurturing, and a secure base allows them to venture into the world and take healthy risks, knowing they have a secure base to come back to if they need it. This breeds both confidence in oneself and the ability to have vulnerability and connection with others. Moreover, it instills this idea that I can trust others and lean on them for my needs. This is a secure attachment style. Now, there are three categories of insecure attachment styles, and one of them is the avoidant one. This happens when parents are more emotionally distant, when they struggle with the expression of feelings, and when they expect their child to be independent and tough. When a child goes to them, if they're physically available in the first place, then their needs often feel dismissed or minimized. This instills the idea that I have to rely on myself, people aren't capable of carrying my troubles, or that my problems just aren't important enough to burden others with. If this sounds like you, then rather than openly sharing vulnerable thoughts and feelings, you'll probably keep things to yourself. But if you're in a close relationship with another person, then you're inevitably going to experience conflicts of interest. So how do avoidant people handle conflict if they don't express their feelings? Well, they often express them in indirect and passive ways. One way is through defiance or resistance. For example, I often hear from wives that I've been telling my husband to do this for months or years, but nothing ever changes. When this happens, it tells me that at the core there's a difference of expectations, but rather than openly share and work through it, it shows up as resistance. Similarly, another response can be deception and manipulation as a way to get one's needs met. If you don't do these, then your only other option is to prioritize the other person's needs and feelings and minimize your own. This is often the case with people that come off as very selfless and giving to other people's needs. Now, you can do this for a while, but eventually your emotional cup is going to get full, and you're not going to be able to tolerate that anymore. Resentment can build, and then explosions can happen. When non-confrontation people do express their needs, it's often only after someone else expresses their own complaints, but they'll rarely be the first ones to bring up an issue. And only bringing up your needs in response to another person leads to that person feeling invalidated and unheard. And so this is one half of how communication challenges get perpetuated. You should know that the onus is on you to bring up the issue first if you want to feel heard and understood. When you don't and you dismiss the other person's needs, you're actually perpetuating the same dynamic that caused for you to be avoidant. This is one way how insecure attachment styles can get perpetuated over generations. Now, at its most extremes, when the above approaches stop working, it leads to the avoidant person cutting off and severing ties. They often think that they're strong because they're able to dismiss needing these people, but it's actually a form of weakness because they're unable to tolerate conflict and come to a resolution. All of these above problems make it hard for an avoidant person to tolerate emotional intimacy that's needed to build a healthy relationship. The idea is that if you get too vulnerable or close, then people are going to let you down, so it's better to keep your guard up. But emotional closeness is a natural need for all people, and it can provide us with a feeling of stability, that we're not going through life alone and that we have someone to rely on. And if we can feel safe and valued by others, it helps us to maintain a higher self-esteem and a more positive outlook on life. If this video speaks to you, then I'd really recommend for you to use the Barriers to Assertive Communication template in the Therapy Journal app. Try it once, but come back to it often because you're building new ways of relating to others and it can be easy to slip into old habits. You can also benefit from the feelings log and the appropriate expressions template too. These will help you better understand your own feelings and will also make it easier for you to express your feelings in a way that other people can understand too.